This podcast is intended for mature audiences, so grow up. I'm Leslie, and I'm a storyteller. But these aren't just any stories. These are my stories, untold until now. A Gen Xer who's lived through it all. The analog days, the digital dawn, and everything in between. I'm turning the mic on myself to share the true stories, the awkward moments, and the maybe you had to be there experiences that shaped who I am. From the suburban battlefields of being a childhood nobody to the existential angst of adulthood, I'm taking you on a journey through the events, the people, and the pop culture that defined my experience. This is Gen X Crossing, Episode 6. This is Part 3 in my life-altering At the Edge of Your Seat series on work, The Hustle Chronicles. When we last left our heroine of Hustle, the 19-year-old college student Leslie, she had graduated high school, saw her first trans person ever. Quick sidebar, the beginning of understanding that clothes have no gender, and if someone is happy and not hurting anyone, how they express themselves is none of my business. End sidebar. And also witnessed her first credit card fraud. She is just finishing up freshman year and sees an opportunity to make a quick, big buck, guaranteed, according to 2 inches of text in the Denver Post. Classifieds. Okay, that was horrible, but I just really wanted to do it. Let's pick up our story there. So, the ad guaranteed, all caps, so you know it's true, $1,250 a month minimum, which, to recap, is about $3,700 by today's standards, which would be some serious summertime bank, especially compared to the $3.35 per hour at the Foot Locker where I had been cashiering. I had given them my notice without having another job, which I knew was a bad idea. I could be a little impulsive at that age. So I called the number in the ad. "Hello, Vector Marketing," the woman answered, strangely leaving out a pause between the hello and the company name. This made her sound very busy and important. That and the sound of people talking in the background. "I'm calling about your ad in the Denver I didn't have a chance to get the in post out before she asked me 3 questions in quick succession. "Are you able to come to a group interview on Monday the 4th, 8:30 a.m. or 1:30 p.m. sharp?" "Yes, 8:30 a.m., I answered. "Are you able to dress professionally?" "Yes." "Are you interested in making a guaranteed minimum of $1,250 per month simply by meeting with people?" "Doing what?" I asked. "All of that will be explained at the group interview. We'll see you Monday. Be there at 8:15 to fill out the application. The interview starts at 8:30. "It's probably telemarketing," my mom said from the kitchen as she finished straining the mushrooms from a bowl of cream of mushroom soup she had heated up for my grandma. I had moved off campus for the summer and into my mom's apartment, into a makeshift bedroom that had been the dining room. My grandmother, mother, and sister occupied the other 3 rooms. But they said it's just for meeting with people and that we're guaranteed to make a minimum of $1,250 a month. "Sales, then. I don't think you'll like that. You get too anxious." "I wish you worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken," she added distractedly, now dumping fried gizzards from a white paper bag on a plate. "Then I wouldn't have to chase down your grandma's dinner at 3 different places every night." She stopped what she was doing and looked up at me. "Just get a job, Leslie, and keep it. You have to make your own money." "I know," I said, then added with sass, "I won't ask you for anything," as I was living rent-free in her house. Anyway, Monday rolled around and I drove my VW to the offices of Vector Marketing, just a few miles from my mom's place. Again with the pantyhose, the skirt, the dress shirt, the modest heels. Quick aside here, all applications back then were on paper. and you looked bad if you took them home to complete them or if you filled them out in pencil. Anyway, onward. Todd, a redhead dressed in an expensive suit and looking a few years older than me, greeted a group of 5 of us in the lobby after I had completed my application. I didn't have a resume, but some of the other people filling out their applications did. I figured they'd probably be hired as managers. Todd led us to a medium-sized room with dark gray, new-smelling carpet, lighter gray walls, no windows, and 6 rows of plastic folding chairs, neatly lined 6 to a row, with an aisle down the middle. 10 or so people were already seated, sitting quietly with their hands resting on their laps. I could smell but not see coffee and pastries. I guess they weren't for us. Following those seated, I took my place in the front row. I figured earnestness might make up for the missing resume. "We're going to start in just a few, folks," Todd announced from the front of the room, holding his hands in one of what would become his 2 primary poses, clasped together at his chest. The other pose, I'll call them knife hands, would be employed the most during the interview. He disappeared through a door at the front of the room while we all waited. I sat there, legs crossed, doodling in the spiral notebook I'd brought, periodically checking my watch. 8:45, 8:50. Why didn't they just say they were starting at 9? I tried to rehearse in my head how I might answer the interview questions. All of the questions I had been asked to date were about if I wanted the job, if I would be on time, etc. Nothing about my experience. I wondered if the group interview meant competition to be the first to answer the question, like a game show or Bible verse drills I used to do in Sunday school. I'd never heard of a group interview. Finally, around 8:52, Todd and the woman who I assumed was the person who'd taken my call assembled at the front of the room. "Tara's gonna hand out vector notebooks for you guys while I take roll," Todd explained, resting a clipboard on his ribcage. "Jennifer, Tim, Kim." He went down his list, glancing up for a hand raised after each "here." Any time there was no answer, he'd say the name a second time, look around and say, "I guess he didn't want to make money this summer," and scratch the name off the list. Judging by the small handful of empty chairs, he probably only said that 2 or 3 times. "Okay, let's get going," Todd said excitedly as Tara hit the lights and turned on a projector in the back of the room. She clicked the first slide into place at Todd's nod of a cue. In large black letters with a blue background were the words Vector Marketing. "This is Vector Marketing," he said, smiling at the obviousness of the logo twice as large as his head behind him. "I'm Todd, and that's Tara," he said, gesturing with knife hands at himself and his assistant. "You may be wondering why you're here," he said, smiling and tilting his head. Everyone laughed politely. "You're here because you liked that ad that promised $1,200 a month, guaranteed, right?" More polite laughter and a few nods in the crowd. "We'll get to that," he said, folding his hands at his chest again. "But for now, I want you to ask yourself a question. What if you had something to share with people that was so good, so practical, that it sold itself?" Murmurs in the naive crowd. "I want to show you that something." Todd turned to a table behind him, covered in heavy black cloth, and lifted another black cloth that was sitting on top. As he turned around, he produced the shiniest silver scissors I had ever seen. They were heavy-duty, kind of like my mom's sewing scissors on steroids. Holding them up high, he said, "These are scissors." Again with a polite laughter, "But not just any scissors. What if I told you these scissors," he said, reaching into his pants pocket with his other hand, "could cut this real penny?" He held up a bright copper penny, sliding it between the blades like a magician performing a trick. And with a quick snip, the penny snapped in two, one half landing at the feet of the guy next to me. "Pick that up, Ray," he said. I didn't know if I should be more impressed about the penny or that the fact that he remembered Ray's name. None of us had name tags. "Ray, show that penny to Leslie," he said confidently, looking at the rest of the room. My name was pronounced Leslie, but at least he remembered my name. Impressive. "Leslie, confirm that that's a real penny, please." I nodded. Small oohs and ahs made their way around the room. Okay, settle down, everybody," said Todd, over-anticipating our awe just a bit. "That is why we're here. Our client, Cutco Cutlery." Tina changed the slide to one with the Cutco logo alongside Vector's, a knife in the middle. "From this moment on, I want you to forget all about Vector. We are going to focus on Cutco." What followed was a demonstration of the features of a line of knives and knife sets, made in America, handles from the same material that they use for bowling balls, virtually indestructible with normal use, free sharpening when sharpened by Cutco, a knife for life. Perfect for wedding gifts and those housewives that desperately needed to update their cheap cutlery they got when they were first married. Just when I was getting a little too full of the wow, Todd shifted gears. "Now, you are probably asking yourself at this moment, why would I be offering you $1,250 a month for meeting with people? These things sell themselves, right?" Yes, they do sell themselves when you meet with the right person. See, if you meet enough people, you will sell these knives, and your commission will be through the roof. But we don't want you to get discouraged in the meantime, so if you do 30 meetings a month and you don't make any sales, we will give you $1,250. Bodacious, right? We are so confident in this product that we know you will sell them and make a ton of money. And you'll see on page 4 of your notebook, your call sheet, you have a line for the customer name, phone number, and address, and in the last column, where you got the lead from. The slide changed again, this time to a call sheet. "Now, guys, ladies," Todd said in the first non-salesy tone of the day, "these have to be legit. They have to be adults. You have to do 30 meetings in the month of May, and if you haven't sold anything, then I will cut you a check for $1,250. In the back of the notebook, you'll see 3 sheets of notebook paper. Right now, I want you to write down 10 people you can call and set meetings with. Think of friends of your parents, aunts, uncles. Once you meet with them, you are going to ask them for the name of 3 people that you can call." He did that annoying 3 sign with the last 3 fingers of his hand. "Question so far," he said, finally coming up for air. Someone in the last row in the back raised his hand. "Jim, is it?" Jim nodded, smiling an impressed smile. "So it seems like it would be easier for people to see how great Cutco is if we could demonstrate it like you did." Like lambs to the slaughter we were. "You are exactly right," Todd said, knife hands again. "We have a kitchen set that you can take with you to meetings that includes storage that will fit in a bag." He picked up a brown and beige rectangular piece of hard plastic, displaying it to the right and left-hand sides of the room. "The customer can buy one too, and it can be stored in a drawer or hung on a wall. The set includes those scissors also. But don't cut the penny every time, guys. Eventually, it will ruin the scissors. That's not really what they're intended for. You can buy it all at a special discount for $120. Side note, that's $500 in today's shekels. And side note, that includes the butcher knife, the carver and fork, the slicer and sandwich knife, and the scissors. all of those things were now on display on the black tablecloth, having each been demonstrated by Todd with flourish. But here's the thing, he continued, his tone becoming suddenly serious again. Because you're getting this great price and their demonstrator sets, you won't get lifetime sharpening. Like, don't even ask. The factory will know by the set that you have, forever, he said, then emphasized again. You can't get that unless you decide to pay retail for your set. So, who's ready to get started today? He clapped his hands and returned to the clasping pose. Come up and see me, and we'll get your training started this afternoon. If this isn't for you, in other words, if you don't want to make some easy money showing people an amazing product that folks can't wait to buy, then go ahead and leave the notebook on the chair and have a good day. A few people left, for sure. The remainder of us got in line. When it was my turn, I told Todd that I definitely wanted to do this, but that I would need to get the starter set a little later. Okay, he said, then added, you won't be able to do demos at your meetings until you have the set. You'll just have to show them from the catalog, which I don't recommend. I understand, I said, embarrassed. I'll have the money soon. Are you seriously asking me for money? My mom asked, which was totally fair. Mom, I can't sell these knives without showing them. I pled my case. And of course, they don't have anything they could loan you, she said, sighing and getting out her checkbook. I'll pay you back once I start making the sales. Okay, she said, completely unconvinced. Either way, these will be my knives. Oh yeah, I said, having zero interest in owning my own. I was at the food assembly stage of my life, not the cooking stage. It's funny how these schemes pull you in. I was utterly convinced that this was going to happen. I was going to be a successful knife sales gal. I was going to make the calls, go to those meetings, take those orders, get those referrals. And I did get a meeting or two, and one order from a woman my former roommate connected me to. A friend of her mom's whom she said was nice enough and addicted enough to stuff to buy something. She was, and she did, a steak knife worth a couple $100 by today's standards. But she canceled before I could put the order in. All told, it was a wonderful waste of time for more than half of the summer. Dressing up and burning up all my gas driving to Hell's Half Acre just to be turned down and no referrals given in most cases. My mother was so aggravated with me, she said I didn't have to pay her back or even give her the knives if I just found a regular paying job and stopped all this nonsense. I don't know if you are familiar with the term stupid tax, but this was definitely stupid tax. One that my poor mother got bamboozled into paying for me. Fall was around the corner, so I looked for work that might be more flexible with a college schedule and not require me to wear a polyester uniform, like other jobs I'd had before. Should be easy enough, I figured. And that's what I'll tell you about next on Part 4 of the Hustle Chronicles. This has been Gen X Crossing. Thank you so much for listening. There are many more stories to come. Some will crack you up. Some might make you a little sad. Others are just stories. All of them really happened. If you like what you hear, I really hope that you'll subscribe to this podcast. Until next time, peace out.